Before we dive in, viewer discretion is advised. This content is for entertainment purposes. What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved comedic actors walks onto daytime television expecting a lighthearted interview, only to find himself in the crosshairs of a host determined to tear him down? Today we're diving into the explosive confrontation that left audiences stunned and resulted in Ben Stiller being escorted off the View set. This wasn't your typical celebrity appearance gone wrong. This was a masterclass in how personal vendettas can destroy professional interviews. Make sure to subscribe and drop a comment below because this story has more twists than a Stiller comedy. And trust me, you won't want to miss how this all unfolds. Ben Stiller walked onto the View set that morning with his usual easygoing demeanor, ready to promote his latest directorial project. The audience welcomed him with warm applause as he settled into the guest chair, exchanging pleasantries with the panel. Everything seemed normal until Joy Behar leaned forward with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "So Ben," Joy began, her voice carrying an edge that immediately shifted the atmosphere, "I have to ask about something that's been bothering me for years. You've built this entire career on playing neurotic characters, but I'm wondering if that's really acting or just you being yourself on camera." The audience fell silent. Even the other hosts exchanged uncomfortable glances. Ben's smile faltered slightly, but he tried to keep things light. "Well, Joy, I think most actors draw from personal experiences to some degree," Ben replied diplomatically. "But I'd like to think there's more range to what I do than just neurosis." Joy wasn't backing down. She shuffled through her cards with deliberate slowness, clearly building to something bigger. "See, that's interesting because I've been watching your work for decades, and honestly, I don't see the range. Night at the Museum, same character. Meet the Parents, same character. Even when you're directing, you cast yourself as the same anxious, whiny man-child. Don't you think audiences deserve better?" The tension in the studio was palpable. Whoopi Goldberg tried to interject with a joke to lighten the mood, but Joy held up her hand, stopping her mid-sentence. Ben's jaw tightened, but he maintained his composure. "I think that's pretty reductive, Joy. If you look at something like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty or even Tropic Thunder, those are very different characters with different motivations and arcs." "Oh, please," Joy scoffed, rolling her eyes dramatically. "Walter Mitty was just your regular neurotic guy with a fantasy life. And don't get me started on Tropic Thunder. That movie was offensive on so many levels, I don't even know where to begin." "Offensive how?" Ben asked, his voice carrying a hint of steel now. "The blackface, Ben. The way you mocked method acting, the whole thing was just Hollywood making fun of itself while completely missing the point about representation and responsibility in filmmaking." Ben leaned forward, his media-trained politeness beginning to crack. "Joy, if you actually watched the movie instead of reading hot takes about it, you'd understand that the entire point was to satirize exactly that kind of behavior. We were criticizing actors who go to those extremes, not celebrating it." "So you're saying I didn't understand your brilliant satire?" Joy's voice dripped with condescension. "Maybe the problem isn't my comprehension. Maybe it's your execution. Maybe you're just not as clever as you think you are." The other hosts were now visibly uncomfortable. Sarah Haynes tried to redirect the conversation toward Ben's charitable work, but Joy wasn't finished. "And another thing," Joy continued, completely ignoring Sarah's attempt at intervention, "this whole sensitive guy routine you do, this mumbling, self-deprecating thing, it's gotten old. You've been playing the same character for 30 years. When are you going to grow up and actually challenge yourself as an actor?" Ben's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "Joy, I came here to talk about my new film, which actually is a departure from what you're describing. But since you seem more interested in attacking me personally than having an actual conversation, maybe we should just move on to the next topic." "Oh, so now I'm attacking you?" Joy's voice rose dramatically. "I'm asking legitimate questions about your career choices, and you're getting defensive. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the neurotic behavior I was referring to." "No, Joy, this is me responding to someone who clearly came into this interview with an agenda." Ben shot back, his voice rising to match hers. "You're not asking questions. You're making statements designed to provoke a reaction." Joy slammed her cards down on the table. "I've been doing this job for decades, Ben. I don't need some Hollywood actor telling me how to conduct an interview. And I don't need some talk show host who clearly hasn't done her homework telling me about my own career," Ben fired back. The audience gasped. This was no longer a professional disagreement. This was personal warfare playing out on live television. Whoopi finally managed to break through. Okay, let's take a breath here, and... No, Whoopi, Joy interrupted, her face flushed with anger. I'm tired of these entitled actors coming on our show thinking they can just coast through on charm and expect us to give them a free pass. Ben Stiller hasn't done anything innovative or interesting in years, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. Ben stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You know what, Joy? You're absolutely right about one thing. I shouldn't have come here expecting a professional interview. I should have known better. What's that supposed to mean? Joy demanded, also rising from her seat. It means maybe you should stick to political commentary, where your research consists of reading other people's opinions instead of trying to critique art forms you clearly don't understand. The studio erupted. Audience members were talking among themselves, the other hosts were trying to restore order, and Joy's face had turned a deep shade of red. Excuse me? Joy's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. Did you just question my intelligence on my own show? Ben didn't back down. I questioned your preparation, Joy. There's a difference. Although, given this conversation, maybe both are fair game. The audience was now completely silent, watching this train wreck unfold in real time. You could hear a pin drop as Joy's co-host desperately tried to figure out how to salvage what was left of the interview. You arrogant little man, Joy seethed, pointing her finger directly at Ben. You think because you've made a few movies that somehow makes you better than everyone else? Newsflash, Ben, you're not Scorsese. You're not even Adam Sandler. Did she just say, I'm not even Adam Sandler? Ben asked, looking around at the other hosts with genuine disbelief. Joy, Adam Sandler is incredibly successful and talented. What exactly are you trying to say here? I'm saying you're a mediocre talent who got lucky in an industry that rewards mediocrity? Joy shot back without hesitation, and the fact that you can't handle basic criticism shows exactly why your career has been stagnating for the past decade. Sonny Hostin tried to jump in. Maybe we should take a commercial break and... No, Ben interrupted, his voice now steady and controlled in a way that was somehow more intimidating than when he was shouting. I want to hear this. Joy, please, continue telling America how my career has been stagnating. I'm fascinated by your insight into the entertainment industry. Joy, emboldened by what she perceived as sarcasm, dove deeper. Fine, you want specifics? Your last 3 movies bombed. Nobody talks about your work anymore unless it's to make fun of it. You used to be relevant. Now you're just another has-been trying to stay in the spotlight by stirring up controversy. Stirring up controversy? Ben's eyebrows shot up. Joy, you literally started this entire conversation by insulting my work and questioning my talent. I came here to talk about a film that's getting incredible reviews and festival buzz, and you turned it into a personal attack session. Because somebody needs to call you out, Joy declared, as if she was performing some kind of public service. The entertainment press is too scared to tell the truth about fading stars like you. They're all worried about access and maintaining relationships. But I don't need anything from you, Ben, so I can tell it like it is. Ana Navarro finally managed to get a word in. Joy, maybe we should focus on the positive aspects of Ben's work and... No, Ana, Joy cut her off sharply. I'm tired of this fake Hollywood politeness where we pretend every celebrity project is wonderful. Ben's new movie is probably just another vanity project where he casts himself as the misunderstood genius who gets the girl, despite being completely insufferable. Ben stared at her for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was dangerously quiet. Have you seen the movie, Joy? I don't need to see it to know what it is, Joy replied confidently. So you're reviewing a film you haven't watched, criticizing work you haven't experienced, and questioning the career of someone whose actual body of work you clearly haven't studied. And you're doing this on national television while claiming to be a professional journalist. The other hosts were now openly cringing. Even Joy seemed to realize she might have gone too far, but instead of backing down, she doubled down. I've seen enough of your work to know your patterns, Ben, and I've been in this business long enough to spot a fraud when I see one. A fraud? Ben's voice rose again. Joy, I've been working in this industry for over 30 years. I've directed films that have made hundreds of millions of dollars. I've worked with some of the most respected actors and filmmakers in the world. What exactly makes me a fraud? The fact that you think making money equals making art, Joy snapped. The fact that you've coasted on the same shtick for decades without ever pushing yourself or taking real risks. Taking risks? Ben laughed, but there was no humor in it. Joy, do you know what a real risk is? It's putting your own money into a project you believe in. It's spending 2 years of your life developing something from scratch. It's standing in front of a crew of 200 people and making decisions that affect their livelihoods. What risk have you taken lately besides insulting guests on daytime television? Joy's face was now bright red. Don't you dare lecture me about risk, you privileged Hollywood brat. I've been speaking truth to power for decades while you've been playing dress-up for money. Speaking truth to power? Ben's voice was incredulous. Joy, you're sitting at a desk on a major network making millions of dollars to give your opinions. You're not some underground resistance fighter. You're part of the establishment you pretend to criticize. At least I have real opinions instead of focus group personality traits designed to sell movie tickets, Joy fired back. Real opinions? Ben stood up again, this time moving closer to Joy's section of the desk. Your opinions change based on whatever gets you the most attention. You don't have convictions. Joy, you have talking points. Security was now moving closer to the set, sensing that this confrontation was spiraling beyond what anyone had expected. Whoopi made one last desperate attempt to restore order. Okay, everyone needs to just take a step back, and remember we're on live television here, she said firmly. But Joy wasn't finished. You know what your problem is, Ben? You can't handle the fact that somebody finally called you out on your BS. You're used to being surrounded by yes men and publicists who tell you how brilliant you are. Well, guess what? Not everyone is buying what you're selling. Ben's response was measured but devastating. Joy, the only person here who can't handle being called out is you. I pointed out that you haven't done your homework, and you've spent the last 10 minutes proving my point by admitting you haven't even seen the work you're criticizing. This isn't journalism, it's performance art, and not very good performance art at that. The tension in the studio had reached a breaking point, and everyone could sense that something was about to snap. That's when Joy made the mistake that would end the interview. She stood up from her chair, walked around the desk, and got directly in Ben's face. You want to talk about performance art? She hissed, her voice low and venomous. Your entire career is performance art. You pretend to be this sensitive, thoughtful filmmaker, but really you're just another narcissistic actor who thinks the world owes him something. Ben didn't move, didn't flinch, but his voice carried a warning. Joy, you need to step back. Or what? Joy challenged, moving even closer. What are you going to do, Ben? Are you going to have one of your neurotic breakdowns right here on live television? Maybe that would actually be interesting for once. The audience was now audibly gasping. Even the camera operator seemed unsure whether they should keep rolling. Whoopi was frantically signaling to the producers off stage. Ben's voice remained calm, but his words cut deep. I'm going to do what I should have done 20 minutes ago. I'm going to leave because this isn't an interview anymore. This is you working through whatever personal issues you have with me or my success, and I'm not your therapist. Personal issues? Joy's laugh was shrill and bitter. You think this is personal? Ben, you're not important enough for me to have personal issues with. You're just a convenient example of everything that's wrong with Hollywood entitlement. Then why? Ben asked, his voice deadly quiet. Have you spent the last half hour attacking me instead of asking a single question about the project I came here to discuss? Why did you admit you haven't even seen my work, but somehow feel qualified to dismiss it? And why are you now standing in my personal space trying to intimidate me on your own show? For the first time in the entire confrontation, Joy seemed momentarily speechless. Ben pressed his advantage. You want to know what I think, Joy? I think you're threatened by people who actually create things. You sit behind this desk every day, commenting on other people's work, other people's lives, other people's success, but what have you actually built? What have you created that will outlast your next controversial opinion? Joy's composure finally cracked completely. How dare you question what I've contributed to this industry? I've been fighting for progressive causes since before you were even famous. I've used this platform to speak out against injustice and give voice to the voiceless. By attacking actors who come on your show to promote their work? Ben asked. By admitting you don't research the guests you're supposed to be interviewing? Joy, you're not fighting injustice right now. You're just being cruel for entertainment value. I am not being cruel, Joy shouted, her voice echoing through the studio. I am being honest, something this town wouldn't recognize if it bit them on their surgically enhanced rear ends. Ana Navarro tried one more time to intervene. Joy, maybe we should. Stay out of this, Ana, Joy snapped, without taking her eyes off Ben. This is between me and Mr. Hollywood here. Ben shook his head slowly. No, Joy. This is just you. This is you deciding that instead of doing your job professionally, you were going to use your platform to try to humiliate a guest. And the really sad part is, you don't even realize how badly you've embarrassed yourself. I've embarrassed myself? Joy's voice reached a pitch that made several audience members wince. You're the one who couldn't handle a few tough questions without having a meltdown. Tough questions? Ben's laugh was genuine now, which somehow made it more cutting than his anger had been. Joy, you haven't asked me a single question. You've made statements, accusations, and personal attacks. You've admitted you haven't seen my work, haven't researched my current project, and apparently don't understand the basic difference between criticism and harassment. Security was now clearly visible at the edges of the set, and the show's producers were frantically gesturing from behind the cameras, but Joy was beyond caring about professional consequences. You know what your real problem is, Ben? She said, her finger jabbing toward his chest. You can't handle strong women. You can't handle someone who won't kiss your ring and tell you how wonderful you are. Ben's response was swift and devastating. Joy, this has nothing to do with you being a strong woman. This has to do with you being unprepared, unprofessional, and frankly, unkind. There are plenty of strong women in this industry who can challenge guests without resorting to personal attacks and admitting they haven't done their homework. Don't you dare lecture me about professionalism, Joy seethed. I've been professional my entire career. Then what do you call this? Ben gestured around the chaotic set. What do you call attacking a guest's entire body of work without having seen it? What do you call turning a promotional interview into a personal vendetta? If this is your idea of professionalism, then maybe it's time for you to reconsider your approach. That was the final straw. Joy completely lost control. Get out, she screamed, pointing toward the exit. Get out of my studio right now. I don't have to sit here and listen to some washed-up actor tell me how to do my job. Ben didn't move. Instead, he looked directly into the main camera. I want to apologize to anyone who tuned in expecting to hear about filmmaking and instead got to watch whatever this was, he said calmly. And I want to thank the other hosts who clearly tried to maintain some level of professionalism despite impossible circumstances. Joy was now completely unhinged. Security, get him out of here now. Two security guards approached hesitantly, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Ben held up his hands. Don't worry, he said to them. I'm leaving voluntarily. I should have left 20 minutes ago when it became clear this wasn't going to be an actual interview. As Ben walked toward the exit, Joy couldn't resist one final shot. That's right, run away, just like you always do in your movies. Ben stopped at the edge of the stage and turned back one last time. Joy, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence of the studio, I really hope you watch the movie. Not because I need your approval, but because you might learn something about the difference between creating art and creating drama. And with that, Ben Stiller walked off the View set, leaving behind a studio in chaos, a host who had completely lost control, and an audience that had just witnessed one of the most explosive confrontations in daytime television history.